Hi, my name is Allie Clough, and I'm the developer of Needs-Based Mentoring. I want to thank the Edith Landau Virtual Learning Center for the grant that helped make these modules and the guidebook possible. The three modules that are on their website as well as my own are focused on the overview of needs-based mentoring, this module, a second module, which is about basics in motivational interviewing. And then the third module will be on the elements within needs-based mentoring, structure, and teach. And these are done by the now graduated Jana Vandervelden. So here we go. In this module, I'll talk a little bit about the needs-based mentoring origins, its spirit, the 5 elements of needs-based mentoring, and their core components. I'll talk about how to decide if mentoring as an intervention is right for your school, as well as who it may be for and who might serve as the mentors. I've been working on mentoring in schools, lots of different programs and models since I was in graduate school with Dr. Mike Nakala many years ago, over 25 years ago. And a lot of these different programs and models did one aspect well, and often other aspects of either the relationship or goals may go by the wayside. So, when speaking about mentoring, we focus on developmental goals, which are relational, and instrumental goals, which are skills-based or skill development. And needs-based mentoring is attempts to be a comprehensive approach and works on both of these as core pieces of needs-based mentoring, the relationship and skills development. I also wanted to make sure I included evidence-based components such as motivational interviewing in rapport development, as well as database decision making when working on a goal together that might be behavioral, tracking progress, and seeing whether or not, monitoring whether or not the skill is developed. I also wanted to make it extremely student-centered. This is something that we have to recognize that teenagers really do need in the creation of their goals and their choices in life. Um, so I wanted whatever was developed by me to be holding real space for their autonomy and supporting their autonomy and their self-determination. So one of the things I focus on in the guide that I developed recently is looking at the willingness and ability of students to work with their mentors regularly, uh, openly, and really building that trusting relationship and being able and willing to meet, talk, collaborate on prioritization of goals, and work to achieve those goals with them. As I said in the last slide, it should be very important to the mentors to remain student-centered and holding their autonomy and needs and goals as the highest priority. So as mentors ask themselves self-assessment questions about their mentees' willingness and ability to do certain things with them, the mentor should also focus on their intention as they go into the relationship and each session about what is their intention. So how are they approaching the task of learning about this student and helping this student prioritize and work on goals, as well as how are they developing that trusting, attuned relationship. I'm also asking mentors to look at not just what their intention is, but where is their attention? So if a student mentee is hard to engage, that mentor then realizes their attention needs to stay on engagement and not jump ahead to something like structure or creating goals together. We have to meet the student where they're coming from and come alongside them. So, uh, as Bill Miller said, a good guide is never way out ahead. Here are the 5 elements of needs-based mentoring: engage, assess, structure, teach, and advocate. Engage is all about building the foundation of the relationship, supporting the student's autonomy, and really communicating in a positive way with strengths-based communication. Engage is an ongoing element throughout the relationship of mentoring. Assess, the second element, is also ongoing. Assess includes different types of questions the mentor asks themselves about how the relationship, as well as how the skill development of the mentee are going. So these two are ongoing. The third one, structure, is also ongoing, but only after it begins. So we don't begin there unless a student mentee is actively showing signs of readiness for potential goal setting and behavior change, things like that. So structure is all about setting goals collaboratively, collaborative problem solving, and as well, collaboratively monitoring and reviewing how that goal is going and how that behavioral skill development is going, and database decision making. The final 2 elements are teach, which school professionals do most naturally, which is basically identifying what needs improvement and working on that together. Teaching the skill, modeling the skill, scaffolding their development of the skill, and helping them practice it out in the real world. The final one, advocate, is about knowing that if this isn't your wheelhouse, and there are other resources around you in the school and in the community to gain access to for the mentee. We need to approach advocate with permission from our from our mentees. So if we're going out to ask for needed resources, again, within the school or in the community, we do it with the mentee's permission. So just to further develop what is involved in the engage element, I focus primarily on motivational interviewing skills, which there is a whole module about. But I'll tell you a little bit here. Motivational interviewing was developed um, as a behavior change approach to counseling people who are having substance abuse challenges. So really working on that behavior change by enhancing intrinsic motivation to change. So here's just an overview of some of the basic skills. Things like OARS, the acronym, stands for asking open-ended questions, making affirmations, or basically saying positive things about any step that the mentee takes in the right direction, uh, making reflections of different sorts of what they say can be the whole conversation, and then summarizing what the student says. So open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. Also, just having general curiosity about the student's interests, values, and their needs and goals. That's what needs-based mentoring is all about. Additionally, when you feel the desire, itch, or something like that to counsel or give your opinion or educate them or advise them, you want to do it with permission. So that's where ask, offer, ask comes in. We ask the student, do you want to know what I think? Or do you want some information about that? And when they say yes, then we proceed to the second part, which is offer. And then at the end of that offer, we want to turn the table back to them again and say, what do you think about that? Or how did that land with you? Other things include rating scales, how important and or confident are they about making a change? Planting seeds, something we always do when we're talking with youth. Focusing on change talk, which I'll talk about in that second module. I'll talk about all of these there, which is anytime a student brings up their desire, ability, reason, or need for the change that you're talking about, reflecting that back to them and focusing on that as a conversation piece. Then there's also testing the waters. So after a nice long session of talking about all these different things, you take each piece of what they're saying and you offer them back as a summary, and then you ask them, so what do you think you'll do? And that's all about testing the waters of their readiness to change. The second element, assess, is really about the mentor self-assessment. So it's not assessment of the mentee per se, like a psychoeducational um, assessment is, but it's really an assess of how is the relationship going? Um, how are they working with me? How am I working with them? Really the boots on the ground kind of assessment of day-to-day work with them. So there are self-assessment questions at the end of each element in the guide, and those should help you determine whether or not things are going well, and you should move to another element, or things are a little shaky and maybe stay in the engage element, things like that. Then there is the element of structure. This is where things like database decision making occur, collaborative prioritization of things that need improvement, and ideas and goals come up. And depending on their readiness to change, you can test the waters and collaborate to prioritize a goal for work together. Sometimes you might even, with ask, offer, ask, offer environmental feedback if there is some lack of appreciation for the potential impact that a goal has on their life. Structure also includes all the goals and the breakdown into steps of each goal, and then, of course, monitoring and tracking progress together. The fourth element, teach, is what school professionals do so well. And the idea that you're breaking down one skill into lots of different steps, behavioral skills training, which Jana will go over in that module on structure and teach. And then finally, advocate, again, getting assistance for the mentee if it's needed with their permission. So bringing a thought or idea or possible resource or change to the school-based team after the mentee says, yeah, sure, you can do that. Let me know what they say. Anything from changing a schedule or changing a teacher, something like that. Other things are obtaining other resources from within the school or the community, using other professionals to assist with what this student needs. And then, of course, following up, seeing if it's being followed through with, things like that. So that's a very brief, broad overview of needs-based mentoring. Here's a tidbit or two about deciding if mentoring is right for your school. The kinds of factors that you can consider include the kinds of things that they might be working on, the student mentees. So not anything that would require really specialized training, like not suicidal ideation or extreme depression or extreme anxiety. However, mild forms of those are most likely fine. Areas of support that they might need otherwise include academic concerns, behavioral support, vocational skill development support, school attendance and connectedness, enhancement or increase, and social skill development. The numbers of students that you're seeking to serve, you can think of this as if it's lower than the specialized training folks who might be have a lot of time spent on scheduling or timetables, really need to have assistance with that and make them more available for them to support the mentees as school counselors. If the numbers are higher, mentors can be trained to expand the school's capacity for individualized support. And the types of people involved could be teachers, EAs, paraprofessionals. There's good research out there to say that natural helpers can all be trained to do this well. One of the things I found in coaching and instructing mentors to work in the schools, some are really definitively natural helpers with grand ability to listen and empathize and work with and goal set with youth, and others who maybe should not have volunteered or focused on them pulling up themselves from their bootstraps and just getting done what needs to get done in school because it has to happen. And that is not the approach of needs-based mentoring or motivational interviewing. Really, we have to come alongside people in order to work with them as an ally and support and guide their getting back on track. So that's what it's about. Additionally, it says in the guide, it's not about saving a kid or fixing a kid, or, telling them to, tough love things. It is all about the spirit of NBM, which is right there with the spirit of motivational interviewing too, which I'll talk about in the motivational interviewing module. So other factors that you could consider if mentoring as an intervention is good for your school are things like administrative buy-in. It has to happen. There has to be an interest, some time and funding to provide for professional development and to really prioritize it as an integral program within the school for kids who are largely on, the tier 3 individualized and intensive support needed level within the school. There should also be some person or persons in charge of coordination. This could be a tier 3 task force or the school-based team, but would also include all the mentors in a meeting once or twice a month in order to fully develop and coordinate needs-based mentoring. Additionally, it will need to consider how many of the mentors might be available. Um, First, there's interest and willingness of these natural helpers that I self-identify and are recruited to NBM, but it's also about how we treat their time. So some schools might consider mentoring as a credit-oriented class, if it's that high need in a school, or making sure that they have some um, flexible time in their schedule or extra planning blocks to make sure they're able to meet with their mentee between 20 and 50 minutes per week. So, who is needs-based mentoring for? As I said, it's typically for kids at the tier 3, students at the tier 3 level of intensive individualized need for support. It could be used at the tier 2 level, so more preventatively. And I would focus on 3 red flag areas for whether or not they would potentially benefit from mentoring. One is office discipline referrals, another is grades, and the last one is what I've been focusing my career on, which is attendance and school engagement or connectedness. Who are the mentors? Again, as I said in the last slide, they are self-referred natural helpers who want to be of assistance as well as find it interesting and good for themselves and the school to learn different ways to support kids and students in need, and they're open to innovations. There are additional documents, lots of them, in the needs-based mentoring guide, and these will assist with recording session foci, planning and teaching goals, as well as evaluating needs-based mentoring in the school and for individual students. And as I said, the other 2 modules are on motivational interviewing skills, and the last one is on structure and teach. I appreciate your time and good luck with it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to first check my blog and email for more information. Allison.cloth@ubc.ca. Thanks so much.